So excited. Today's show is going to look a little different. Welcome to Direction, Not Perfection. And you're going to get to experience two podcast hosts. Both get to sit in the hot seat and both get to be the guest of honor today. And I'm so excited to welcome Jennifer Zumbiel. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and I'll go into my introductions. And then we are going to dive into a really fun topic today of does it even matter? Welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm excited to be here. So, yes, my name is Jennifer Zumbiel. I am the host of Families That Stick Together podcast, and that is Togather. That is based on our business called Togather Moments, which is all about conversation stickers and just bringing families together in a way that connects you, that allows you to slow down. And ultimately, we have a lot of voices coming at us in today's world. And when we're trying to raise our family, we want our voice to be the loudest. And my mission as a mom of four and really understanding the distractions that are out there and the conflicts that we can be up against, I want to help other families do that in a way that really fits into our real life. So we do that by taking time to gather moments.
And I have followed you for so long and you creep into my daily life. I'm not kidding. All the time. Even to the point of we're moving soon from Arkansas back to Ohio, and your stickers, your placemats, they're creeping into all my goodbye presents. Because I'm like, how do I want to leave Arkansas? Like, how do I want to leave my legacy here in Arkansas? And it's your words that are this easy way to gift it over and let other families grow closer and connect through the different ways that you provide that with your sticker games, with your placemats for restaurants, like all of it. So just thank you for what you do. You really do grow families.
Thanks for that, Lindsay. You've been one of my biggest cheerleaders. So many times when I sit and think, why does this matter? Which is so fitting for our episode today. Your voice is in my head saying, keep going. No, this does matter. So thank you. You always show up when I need you to too.
Mm-hmm. Well, truly, I'm not just telling you that. It's so good. And I'm so excited that our community once again gets you. I was going to tell our listeners today that this is the first time you and I are live together on YouTube or face to face on YouTube, but we've actually podcasted quite a lot together. So if you end up going, I love Jennifer or I love Lindsay, go back to Direction, Not Perfection or Families That Stick Together podcast and you can catch us, and we'll leave our episodes in the show notes and in the comments as well.
I've had you on 3 times. You were my very first guest interview for my show.
I love that. Yes. I was just going to say that I think this is 4 for Direction, Not Perfection as well with bringing you on. So that's when you know someone's good stuff is when you're like, when can I bring them on again? Where it's not going to feel like it's just our show. So this was interesting. Jennifer and I leave each other voice memos all the time because it's just our way of staying connected without having to do like long telephone conversations. We're both just in busy seasons of life and I still get to hear your voice, which I love, but I get a voice memo from you talking about a previous podcast episode. And I must have at the end of it said something like, does it even matter? And for whatever reason that like resonated, clicked with you for your community as well. So I kind of wanted you to lay out why that clicked and why we want to really dive into this topic today. Does it even matter?
Yes. So Lindsay is correct. We reach out to each other a lot. We only met over the internet through Facebook, through your sister-in-law. And then we did meet in person right before you left for Arkansas. And I live in Kentucky. So geographically, when Lindsay moves back, she'll be in Southern Ohio and I'm in Northern Kentucky. So we will be able to see each other in person, but we've actually only seen each other in person one time. And in the same room, I should say. Yes. So I was listening to your episode 229, which was Band-Aids versus fixes. And I love all your episodes, and I love your solo episodes. Lindsay, you are such a good coach. Everybody who is in your community knows that, but you have this way of just saying, come on, it's okay. I'm right here with you. I've got this. I understand what you're going through. You can do this. You are so gentle in your encouragement and motivation. And this episode was certainly that, but you were sharing in that episode about, are we helping ourselves along the way by fixing the small problems, or are we waiting and pushing them off, and then they become these giant problems that we have to fix? So are we putting Band-Aids on everything, or are we actually fixing it? And you were using examples of water leaking into a home. And if you don't fix it right away, it becomes a big problem, messed up the tile in your laundry room and all that. And then the computer issues, we all can relate to technology problems where we just slap a Band-Aid on it, but we don't actually do the big fix that it needs. And yes, within that episode, you said the phrase, does it even matter? And you were talking about your phrase that you always use, slow and steady. Yes, it does matter. It does matter. And that did hit me, because for me personally, living a life with a family of 6, and my children range from age 7 to 15, we've always been busy and had our kids in different activities and shuffling them. But this felt like the hardest season that we came out of, literally the spring season. And it was just very draining on our family, as far as just being pulled in a lot of directions and not having enough, bandwidth for it all some days. But it's fine. We got through. And I felt like when you said that, it made me think, okay, how many times have I given up on, kids just, and this isn't a big deal. I'm just using this as an example because we can all relate. I want to pack my kids the healthy lunch and save money and not give, all that adds up with the cost of school lunches, and it adds up with giving them unhealthy food at school. We know what they can get there, and they don't want it half the time. They want a packed lunch, but so often I'd be, in the morning, so tired and exhausted and not have gone to the grocery store. So it was this just snowball effect of, no, just buy it at school today. And that in that moment was me giving up on trying to hold a budget, me giving up on, I was supposed to go to the grocery yesterday, me thinking, I was going to pack you a nice lunch and the food that you actually want. And I didn't. And in moments like that, and again, that might be a silly example, not very serious or anything, but we can all relate to that and what the metaphor is behind it. And so, it made me just think, do those little things matter in motherhood, in our health journey, in trying to raise our family? Does it matter that I want to have screen limits in my home, but I'm tired this week. I don't care, kids. Watch a 3-hour movie for 6 hours in a row. I don't care. I'm too tired. Does it matter? Yes, I think this is a conversation worth having. And so I reached out to you and I thought, gosh, that really spoke to me, because it made me think, in these moments, what am I going to do? Am I going to ask myself, does this matter? And will that change my decision?
You just set this up so beautifully. Thank you. And I even love that you said the word, this is a silly example, because it's not. And that's what creeps into our head. Those are the things that, like, this is just silly. It's just this. It's just lunch. It's just TV. It's just, where it's like, no, all of it holds a level of importance, especially when it plays on how it makes us feel. Because I don't know about you, but I can feel the centeredness when I hold to something that I feel is important. So like something like packing a lunch and you see your kids walk out the door with something healthier and they like it more. It's like it sets you up for just a better vibe for the day, I don't think a lot of us pay enough attention to that level of like, if I'm feeling off, it's probably because I'm saying too many yeses in a direction that I'm not proud of. And I'm going to give my example too. And as listeners, as join in here with your own examples. Jennifer and I are going to strongly encourage you to build your own list of where you feel yourself saying, does it even matter? And I actually have something kind of funny about this because I was thinking, what if Jennifer asks me, what are my areas? Because initially I couldn't think of a lot. I was like, I think because of how I coach and because I believe in all these little by moments and planting seeds for success that might happen later on in life, like maybe I've trained myself over the years to diminish this thought of does it really matter? And I think there's like some layering of truth to that. But I also feel like the longer I sat with this thinking, then they started coming. And I'm telling you this because I think the longer that you sit with your list, you're going to see all the different areas in your life that you see that does it even matter come to fruition. And one of my examples is I've forever been trying to stop that. I really enjoy pouring a glass of wine with dinner when I make dinner at night. It's kind of like I turn on music, I pour a little glass of wine, trying to get out of that habit. I don't want it to just be a habit. It's fine if it's something like fun and once in a while, but it does not need to be a nightly routine. I am totally guilty of going, does it even matter? Does it even matter that I'm pouring this glass of wine right now? Or the real example that I want to take 2 minutes to walk through with you is I've been doing it with the summertime alarm clock, that it's 5:30 and my alarm clock's going off. And I love this word, decision fatigue. I've been decision fatiguing myself of I could work out, I could jump up and I could start working right now. All this that needs to maybe or could happen before the kids' feet hit the floor in the morning. And I quickly can go to, but does it even matter? Does it even matter? Because I could go to the grocery store, but does it matter? Because I could go later on in the afternoon. I could get my workout in, but does it matter? Because I could let the kids watch a show and go get the workout in. And what I notice is all these things start to stack up. So it does matter the more things I can knock out. But I think the part that messes with all of us, and this is what I've really narrowed it down to with this specific example, is laying in bed at 5:30 in the morning. What I want to know how it's going to play out in the day. So if I'm saying, does it matter if I got a workout in and I got, let's say, grocery shopping in before my kids' feet hit the floor, then I already want to know the results of my efforts. I want to know that that means that I'm going to have a clearer brain space. I want to know that it's going to open up beautiful time window with one of my kids. But I don't get the satisfaction of knowing that at 5:30 in the morning. I had to wait. So my example yesterday was my daughter had a sleepover. I had to pick her up at 8 and I had a call with my members at 6:45 in the morning. I do this morning jumpstart call. And so I had this like time frame that if I organized it right so that I didn't decision fatigue myself in the morning, then I had time to go to the gym and then I had time to talk to my members and then I had time to grocery shop and I had time to go get my daughter. Well, because I did all of that, my day, I had time to work with like free brain space. Well, I took one kid to camp and ran around and just played with the other kid. We found ourselves in the kitchen, just cooking. It was like all these glorious things happened during the day because of my small actions that morning. And I'm not telling you that for like accolades or a pat on the back. Good for you for doing that. No, it was that because the does it even matter things actually happened, I got to watch it all unfold in the day, and I couldn't have created that in my brain. I had to do the action, and then I got to witness the results and the pleasant surprises that came with it. And so my question, Jennifer, I kind of even wrote this out, was just how do we settle into doing the process without needing to know the results?
That was an excellent example for us all. I think we can all understand what you're talking about. So it made me think, what if the problem, if you want to say, with everything that comes at us, our desire to have better organization in our home, our desire to be healthy, our desire to be more connected with our children, our desire to fill in the blank. What if that all went back to exactly what we're talking about? That in that moment when we've all heard, we make so many decisions in one moment. What if the one that we're not paying the most attention to is that we don't even notice that we're saying, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What if that was the secret to everything, our spiritual journey, our faith commitment, our marriage, everything? This felt really profound to me because in the last couple of weeks, I was listening to an Ed Milet episode, and he is awesome. For any of you out there who don't listen to Ed, he has a book that actually is fitting to this, The Power of One More, the power of just one. And he's talking about, what if you did one more rep and one more this and talk to that person one more time, and how just pushing yourself to one more changes so much. And in one of his episodes, he was talking about having habits, and we all hear about habits in our lives, but he was talking about how if we can just have some habit in our day that we stick to over and over, and it's our routine, and we commit to that is setting us up for success in so many areas, because, we're teaching ourselves self-discipline. We're teaching ourselves to say yes when we want to say no. We're teaching ourselves that we can follow through with something. I mean, so many good life lessons if, for example, we just get up and make our bed every morning. Now, I will be the first to admit I'm not a natural bed maker. I don't wake up and make my bed. I'm in the mindset of, it doesn't matter. Here we go again. And nobody walks into my bedroom. It's okay. I'm getting into the bed later at night. I have more things that take my time, when the reality is it takes probably 90 seconds to make my bed. And anyway, I listened to this episode from Ed Milet, and I thought, this is so true. We're going to implement this, and I'm going to implement this in my children. Now, my mom didn't make us make our beds. She said the same thing. Close your door. It's fine, whatever. And at the moment, I thought, oh, I appreciate it. And she would say, yeah, I just didn't think you needed to get so strict on that. It was just a bed. But now that I'm an adult, I think, what if I had had that in my life? And I'm not saying my parents did anything wrong by not making me make the bed. Or if you're in the camp of not making your kids make the bed, that's fine. You have your own thing. But I'm using this as an example of the habits do such good for us and our mindset and the catapulting effect of everything else in our life. So we had a talk with our kids, and I talked to them about how I felt when I listened to this episode and how it brought up me not making my bed as a child. And I talked to them about this and said, all I want is for you guys to make your bed all summer. It has nothing to do with me thinking you have to keep that clean, or that I'm going to be mad if you don't make it. This is for long-term effects. I want you to get to the end of the summer and see how that has actually made you feel more disciplined in other areas of your life. And it has already helped with me. I think I've done it for just 2 weeks. I think we've been at it. And all of this, I think, comes back to this whole thing of asking ourselves, does it matter? But I think what you're saying is, how do we get to the place of doing this without knowing the results, to get in the mindset of hearing more about that question? And that will naturally bring us into these good habits, and it will naturally bring the conviction in. So if I ask myself on those early school mornings when I'm so exhausted, if I ask myself enough, does this matter? Then probably after 3 weeks of myself asking that, I'm going to be convicted of, yeah, Jen, go to the grocery store on time, have these things for your kid, stick to the budget. It's rewarding when you save money on lunch every month. Do these things. So I think, yes, maybe it's just the matter of constantly asking ourselves, but knowing that we're going to give up on ourselves sometimes. We're not going to get out of bed. We're not going to pack the lunch. We're not going to say no to the TV, but that's okay. Keep going in that direction. Like you always say, slow and steady, keep going.
Yes, thank you. I think this is like such a good example on where you went with it, that this crosses over into both of our communities so well, because it's not about just the small changes in food and fitness. It's not just about the small changes with like the family habits around the house. I was picturing marriage habits as you were talking to. It's so easy to say, does it matter that I greet my husband when he comes home from work and like give a hug and say, "Hi, I'm happy you're home"? I remember my mom saying that to me at one point. Like she was really good. Whenever my dad walked in the door, it was like, say hi to your dad, give hugs, make sure that if you were the family member walking in, wouldn't you like it if the family dropped what they were doing to say hi? We're excited you're home. But it'd be really easy when we're distracted with something else to be like, does it matter? Does it really matter? So that's just kind of a silly example too, but like where I can see the does it really matter coming in everywhere, everywhere. And I felt like while you were talking, my brain was going everywhere with this. But again, intentionality is the word that kept coming. And it's one, if we build insight around where we're doing it, which is where you were saying, maybe verbally ask ourselves out loud, does it really matter? Or at least go through that in our head. Because the more that we say it to ourselves, it will bring attention to those moments that we need it. Because once the attention is there, then we can start to understand, like, why are we battling this area? And does it really matter? Because there's going to be moments, to your point, even with the bed making for you, it is making a difference and it's rippling over into positive habits, positive effects, where there's other things that sometimes we're beating down a door and it doesn't matter. So like, let it go. That area doesn't really matter per individual. And I think that that's important too. We're so conditioned to be like, this should fit everyone. This should blanket layer over everybody and work for everybody. And even this talk works for you individually in your area of life, listeners. Like you will have your area where things matter and don't. And I align with Jennifer on so much because like when you mentioned even like the TV time in the house, or we both talked about cell phones and different ages to get different devices and whatnot. And it's like, sometimes that question of does it really matter is hard. And that's where I appreciate you, Jennifer, and being able to dive into one of your episodes of Families That Stick Together, because it can redefine why I care about something. And I'm like, ooh, I needed that because it does matter, darn it. And I'm not doing it. And why am I not doing it if it really does matter?
Yeah. And I think to your point, sometimes it doesn't matter. You're right. I think that's equally as important here as we're having this discussion and we're talking about all these things, because I think this episode is naturally pointing. And when I reached out to you, it was naturally pointing to go to the things that do matter, right? But if we're going to start having these conversations within our own heads and then bring this into our family, well, yeah, it is important to see the things that don't matter, right? As we're talking about relationships for our kids with their friendships, or things we're putting our time into, social media accounts we're following. I mean, the list goes on and on. Some things do not matter. And why don't they matter? Because they lead me down a place where I start being judgmental, or I start getting jealous, or I start feeling frustrated, or, whatever. And one of the things that you say at the end of your episodes that really stuck out to me after being in the mindset on that specific Band-Aids versus fixes episode was you say it's not always instant gratification or that exciting to do these things. And we live in a world of immediate gratification. So that combined with the fact that we're distracted from every point of view, it really sets ourselves up for all these problems that we think we have. But really, if we sat and looked at what we think we struggle with, it would go back to the fact that, hey, maybe are you looking for immediate gratification and you're just not settling because you should be caring more about delayed gratification. And like you said, this goes back to that with look at what this is going to do later on in the day if you do this, or later on in the week, or guess what? It might not even show up for years, but what happens if you say yes to this or say no to this, we could say, based on how this conversation is going.
It's the seeds. Like I know that you talk with your community a lot about planting seeds and then getting to reap our harvest later. And I was thinking, even back to my example yesterday, I got to reap really quickly, too soon, probably. Like, I don't know what seed I could have planted that I could have picked the same day and gotten my rewards, but I did. Yesterday, my efforts literally paid off in the same day. And to just make sure that we don't always have those expectations, like maybe setting ourselves up with something positive on a Monday morning could lead to something better that weekend or even in the next month. So, and expectations is a whole nother talk too. Okay.
I have a question for you. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So this goes back because as you were talking about your day and waking up at 5:30 and should I do this? What happens if I get up at 5:30 before the kids? All right. This made me think because I'd love your expert opinion on this and your advice to all of us moms who might not be the morning person. So my first question, before I set up the real question here, are you on the same schedule as you were during the school year? Did you always wake up at 5:30 during the school year?
So schedule is similar, but I actually was even meaning to say this is that we all have different times in our day that we function and have clearer brains. And the life flows easier. I think you've even had a whole episode on this. And for somebody else, that might look like the evening or mid-afternoon. Mornings are my easy time. That's my like time. If I let it go, I'm like, you know better than that, Lindsay. You're not going to make it happen at another time. Where I could see you staying up until 11 and being absolutely fine with it.
So yes, good point to bring up is that I'm using the morning example, but that might not be everyone's productive time. And someone here is saying, why are you asking her about that? I'm never waking up at 5:30. But I definitely have been there. I used to be productive I could be very productive till about 2 a.m. I was just a night owl. But the older I get and the more busy our life gets and the more demands, I try to be in bed by 10 o'clock now. It doesn't always work, and be up by, a little before 6. But that doesn't work either. So that's my question is, how do I stay motivated in that? What is your advice when I know I still need to wake up early, but it's summertime? So I cannot go to bed at 10 p.m. because if my kids are up and I want them to have summer fun outside and be up, not care, I'm okay with that. I'm not strict on a bedtime in the summer. And my older ones might be out with friends and I'm not going to bed till they get home and that sort of thing. How do I tell myself? Because it does matter to me. I still need those morning hours before my whole crew gets up so that I can do my Bible study, maybe take a walk, get laundry in, make my bed. But how do I keep the schedule within the limits of me still getting good sleep, but have enough self-discipline to sacrifice a little bit of sleep because I know the morning hours are better or whatever? Tell me what your best advice is as accountability coach to us.
Okay. And I thank you for asking, because I think that for our listeners, we all have these same issues, right? We all have these areas where we're like, I know how it could or should look, and it's not flowing in my life. It's not fitting. All my little edges aren't fitting in. And so it really goes back to it's less about advice and more about coaching. And turning it back over to you and saying, in this short-term thinking, because this isn't the rest of your life, it's for the next 6 to 8 weeks of your life. What are you willing to give up a little bit more of in this moment? Or are there areas in your day that you could habit stack a little more where the laundry could fit well? You serve a breakfast, throw in a load of laundry, and you're right back and still hanging out with kiddos. So I always think that's what it really boils down to. It's like, are there areas I could be flowing and combining that normally I like to have my own peace and quiet time doing it, but this season of life or this little short phase isn't providing that? I don't feel like I'm totally answering, and I'm kind of not doing it on purpose, giving you exact advice, because I think that we all need to individually figure that out for ourselves.
No, I think that's good. That actually was helpful because yes, I love your coaching, Lindsay, for that reason, because you do put it back on ourselves and let us see that there's not a right and wrong answer. It's what works in your life. And I feel the same way. I think we have to be flexible. We have to give ourselves grace, not too much pressure, but also some tough love, which is what you love in your coaching, and be realistic. So what am I willing to give up and where can I have it stack are actually really good things, because it made me think, okay, all right, if I really sit down and think about this, and we're just in the beginning of summer, so I could have a better plan, right? Is if I like to go to bed at 10 during the school year, but I'm up till 11:30 waiting for the kids, then why don't I do some laundry then, or do the things, right? Or maybe I could make myself, if I don't feel super productive with my business stuff that time of day, what could I actually do that feels mindless that has to be done for my business? So that was very helpful, because in my mind, I would think, I'm just sitting around doing nothing that's super productive that time of day. But I could, if I pick it out the right way. And you even said at the beginning of this episode, as you sit longer on this, and it will come to you, and you will see what you need. And I think that's where we can do ourselves a disservice so much as moms, is we get caught up in the busy and we don't sit down and think enough about, okay, what's good for you? What's actually a plan that will work in our lives with what we're doing and how our family operates and so forth.
Yeah. I have to bring up the point too, and I'm curious if you kind of thought through, or like this thought comes to your mind as you're trying to shift into summer needs. But do you ever feel like once you commit to something, if I commit to going to bed earlier and waking up earlier, I've just signed on the dotted line that that's how it has to look every day of the next 8 weeks of summer, where it doesn't?
No. So in some points, that is a hard no. But in some points in my life, I do feel like, oh, shoot, if I do this, and that's, there's a lot of things around that, I suppose. If it's a work thing, oh gosh, if I do it this way, I'm going to have to do it this way forever. But no, I think just the state of my life with having 4 children, and nothing feels the same every day. And there's always an unexpected just surprise in the day. And this can be a weakness as well, but come to feel like, no, I don't have to always have it this way. But then I struggle with that, to be honest, because I wish I could be that way. I wish that I could have these habits that I stick to, because I know how good they are for me. So I do wrestle with that. I'm very like, woo, go with the flow in so many areas that it can harm what I commit to in different habits that I know I should have.
I think it's like a beautiful quality of why you can have a family of 6. It's because you have flex and flow. If you are rigid, and this is where we look at somebody else's quality out there, somebody we're following or whatever, and think they've got it, they've got it all together. And the reality is we all bring, as you well know, but our own qualities into our own families, our own life. And so that's why we work with what we have, because your flex and flow quality is amazing and makes you who you are. So does it make other areas sometimes a little more complicated? Sure. But I
That's where I
don't
can
think
use
that
you and your coaching to remind me, hey, you can have it stack here. You can do this here.
Yeah, like we don't have, it doesn't have to look the same every day. And I had to ask you that question because I think some people get stuck when they feel like if I start this, I have to continue it. Where I was thinking, if someone's not a morning person, but they know it's their best hours to get things done, then maybe you do it 2 or 3 times a week and the rest of your week looks more like your natural flow of a schedule. Like we don't have to hardcore stick to something every day. This is where I always struggle with you, Jennifer, because we could talk for probably the next 3 hours. And I already promised you a hard stop and we've blown past it.
Oh, that's all right.
So
I didn't even know, actually. I haven't looked at the time at all.
Oh, good. I was thinking we can always do a phase 2 of this, especially if we get a lot of our listeners coming back and saying like hand raise, that's me, here's my area, that we could actually jump back on and do some coaching through those questions if our listeners would love to participate with us in this conversation. So, what I think should be for today, even though I dread this moment, is I would like to, for both of us, we're both podcast hosts, to do our wrap up questions for each other and send everybody where we would like them to go if they are just totally enjoying this talk and what we have to offer. So, I'm going to ask mine first, but if you could wrap your arms around our listeners today, your hope and your prayer, your one thing that you would really need them to hear out of today, what would that look like?
Yeah, so we didn't go here to this specific example, but I want to bring this up because it'll wrap it all up. Is I remember being at a jewelry party years ago. It was a room full of young moms with infants and toddlers. And she said, you know, one thing you can do for yourself is put on a beautiful piece of jewelry. If you're wearing a t-shirt and you have a cute piece of jewelry or a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, when you put that on, you feel like you did something good for yourself. And, you know, in one sense, was it her sales pitch? Yes. But on the other side, it was something so profound. And I remember thinking, oh, I don't do that for myself. I don't take time to put on a pretty piece of jewelry ever. It doesn't even cross my mind that that would have any impact on my day. And today, for our listeners watching the video, I put on a pair of blue tassel earrings that are really cute and fun. And I did that because I consciously thought of her saying that today. And so what do I want you as a listener to walk away with is that those little things do matter, as Lindsay and I have talked about. I want you to think of one thing in your day that would matter to you. And it doesn't have to be, I'm going to sit down and have 3 quality one-on-one conversations with all of my children today. Now, that is very important. You can go to a lot of episodes from mine and hear about that. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about what is one thing you can commit to yourself that will matter to you and how you show up to everything else. Is it that you put on that pretty piece of jewelry? Is it that you make your bed, that you have your glass of water for the day, that you simply just stop and do whatever your quiet time routine is in the morning? Or is it something that's just so little to you, but it matters? So what matters to you? Do it. Think of that right now. I want you to do it today, even if it would have been part of your morning routine. Maybe you can get it in the rest of the day today, and then do it tomorrow. And then just take it one day at a time and see how doing that actually matters and makes a difference in some capacity during your day.
So good. Good job. Way to tie that up with a bow.
And you have pretty earrings too.
So we must have had the same jewelry lady at some point because I've thought about that too. And I've heard that. And it does make me think about that. Like I do feel like you show up in fun earrings, or like the one time that you and I were in person, you were just running around with Nate, your son, and you had on some fun jewelry. And I was like,
That's
I love
funny.
that.
You remember that. Well, that's my trick, Lindsay, because I really just wear t-shirts all the time. I mean, this is technically a t-shirt with just a cute sleeve. That's it. It's a cheap t-shirt. But then if you put a fun piece of jewelry, then you look like you actually cared.
And it gives you an internal, it's not a vanity thing. This is where people always feel that way. It's not. It's a walking out the door, just feeling that little burst of like, I tried somewhere. I can't tell you how many clients I have on their goal list with them to wake up and put on makeup and get dressed for the day. Because I work with a lot of retired women who like to settle in and like, yes, it sounds good in theory to wake up and sip coffee and but if it becomes noon and 1 o'clock and you're still in your pajamas and you're still sipping coffee, like there's no good that starts to come out of that. And it's amazing. You shift that one behavior to throwing on some makeup and putting on clothes, and all of a sudden it like ripples into all these other. So what we're saying is it matters.
Yes, it does matter. And it's not the vanity part of it. Like you said, there's so much more and deeper layers to that. Yeah. All right, Lindsay. So I have a Together question for you from Together for Family, or Together for Date Night, actually. And it's the I do category. And I thought this was a fitting sticker because of what we're talking about and how what people say to us really does change us. So here is the sticker. Do you have one phrase someone spoke to you that changed you? What?
So I don't know if this is fair to go this direction, just because I'm sure if I had long enough to think about this, I would have multiple answers for you, from something that like my mom to my husband to, but I'm going to go the professional route with this today, just to kind of pour this knowledge over your listeners. But to your point of when you heard doing one extra like action in the day really made a difference, this stuck out like this for me. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Atomic Habits, James Clear, but he has literally, it's like a sentence in the book where he talks about that we don't rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems. This feels like a simple phrase. You could read it and be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it literally hit me like a ton of bricks, and I think about it all the time. And just to describe this a little deeper, meaning what we want to do is set goals, and we think that whether we're tired or whether we're sad or happy or whatever emotion comes in the day, we should be able to rise to the level of our goals, that we should be able to have enough willpower and enough mental strength and enough pick ourselves up by our bootstraps to go fight for those goals. When the reality is, when people really do things consistently over time, it's because they have set and layered in systems. Like I'm sure you have systems in your house of like TVs get turned off at certain hours, or maybe one of your systems is your kids don't have TVs in their bedrooms. It's a system that's in place so that if you're having an exhausted moment, that you're not fighting them watching a TV at a certain hour of night. Or for people, when we're struggling with emotional eating, a system that can be in place at night is that we don't have a certain food in our house. So that again, I'm just going to say it one more time. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. To me, was something that was stated where I'm like, that's game changer. I just have to have the right system set in place. And then I've already set myself up for success. And I know how to set my clients up for better success. I'm long-winded today.
Oh, no, that wasn't long. That was wonderful. I think that was such a great way to tie up why it matters, because, just like the goals, we think that's what the prize is, but it's really the systems. That's what that whole quote talks about. And just like we think, does it matter? Like that specific thing, we think, does that matter? Well, it's bigger than that. It's what comes because of that one thing that we took time to evaluate to see if it matters. I appreciated that episode so much. I think if someone asked me that sticker, your question in there would come up as one of my phrases that has changed me. I keep thinking about that. So thank you.
Oh, yay. I love that's why we do this, right? Like, man, if we can have one of those moments where somebody reaches out and says, this hit me, this was good, then it's
Yeah.
like, then it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
Ah, it is.
Where is your favorite spot to send people if they're going, I love me some Jennifer. Where do I get more?
Yes. So my favorite place is Families That Stick Together podcast. And I have my Instagram handle is Togather Moments. And I have to be honest about that is I don't show up on social media very much, but my favorite place is podcasting. So that's where I love to pour into families. And then togathermoments.com for all of our connection products and also our courses. We have families that are family connection framework course there. And we do a 3-2-1 connection challenge, which I just did the first one in May, and you can find that on the site. We'll do another one in September, so you can get on the list for that. But yeah, all there. So tell us about you, Lindsay. Where can all of my guests go get more Lindsay? Although it's awesome because when I tell people, I told a couple of people I was sorry, I can't talk. I've got an interview with Lindsay here. They get so excited because they love you because you have been a regular.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, then I definitely want to shout this out to your community. I had been working on putting together some free meal planning tips because I think that's one of the first ripple effects for a lot of individuals where they're like, if they can just feel a little more like calm, cool, and confident in the kitchen, and that flows, then other areas of life flow. So I do have a free meal planning. It's a video and more like templates, handouts for grocery shopping, for getting your meal plans down. And we can put that link in the show notes as well. My podcast, Direction, Not Perfection, is also my favorite place to connect. And I've got a website, healthaccountabilitycoach.com, where individuals can contact and connect with me, as well as if anyone would ever even be interested of being a guest on the podcast. If you're a good fit, I've got a contact form on there as well. So just lots of communication. Oh, I keep forgetting this, and I'm loving this space right now. It's my free Facebook community. It's called Direction, Not Perfection, shocker. And it's weight loss for women 40 and over, because I really feel like my niche is my mamas and my grandmas, and just providing the space to do free coaching and the back and forth of continuing to speak over one another, to believe in the small changes, to if you happen to be on social media that keeps shouting quick fixes at you, it's like you can have a safe social media spot to come and just hang out and keep hearing these types of talks. Like I will put Jennifer and I's talk on there to make sure that these are the messages that you are hearing that benefit you. So I can't thank you enough, Jennifer. Thank you so much for jumping on this morning with me.
Thank you, Lindsay. This worked out so great. I always love being with you and learning from you. I can't wait for you to be back around here. We can see each other in person.
Yes. 1 month and counting.
I know.
So, yes. All right. We're going to sign off so that we can go be mamas and enjoy summer days. And we hope that everybody has a happy and healthy day yourself. Take care.